Today on The Riff, Jeremy and Justin talk about models and missions. What makes a safe place at North Point? We hope today is helpful and hopeful. Thanks for listening.
Hey, welcome Riff listeners. We are coming to you from a very exciting day here, and we know that fall is happening, and we're excited around here. So a lot of good things going on at North Point. The Riff is something that's important to us. It gives us a chance to talk about different stories from different North Pointers or different people out there, different leadership thoughts, and then mission. And today we're going to talk about mission.
It's like a month away from fall.
I mean, but fall in Missouri is different than fall in the Northwest because school starts earlier.
Okay. I mean, school is starting.
Yeah. So, okay. I don't know.
Well, happy fall.
Even if it's not official, let me be one of the first to tell you.
Thank you so much.
Happy fall to you.
Thank you so much.
Very good. Well,
my birthday falls on the first day of fall. Did you know that?
Yeah, September 21st.
Are you joking me right now?
No, it's not even a punchline.
That is impressive.
Yeah. No.
Did you know my birthday or did you know the first day of fall?
I knew the first day of fall. I was 50%. I know some of those first days are on the 22nd, so I couldn't remember.
I was so excited, and then my brain clicked on why you might know that. Probably. Yeah.
So will you remind me when it's your birthday? And Riff listeners,
I will.
You're responsible for what you're aware of. And now
So
you know
true.
September 21st, Justin's birthday. Justin, give us your phone number real quick so we can text.
I'll give it later.
Yeah, sounds good. We'll have it in the show notes. Hey, I want to talk about mission today. So in the last week, I've had opportunity to have at-length conversations out in the wild with North Pointers. Or with two groups of people. One's a North Pointer who talked to me about their journey to North Point, how North Point's been a tree. We talk about in the Zacchaeus story, for them to clearly see Jesus. His words are, it transformed his life. The experience he had with Jesus that came about through his interaction with North Point. I had another conversation with people who are looking for a church. And so based on those conversations, I think it's super helpful to remind, I realize most people who are listening to the Riff are North Pointers. At least that's what our target is as we send this out. We're assuming, hey, for the most part, you're a North Pointer. We also realize maybe you're not a North Pointer. Maybe someone sent you this link, or maybe you just listen.
We can't control what happens out there.
No.
I mean, this baby is international.
Yeah,
so
it is.
We can't, and that's not us.
It's not on us. It wasn't our goal.
It's not our goal.
Certainly it's happened.
Yeah. It's dozens.
But what I want to talk about today is just a little recap of our vision, who we are, who we feel like we're best positioned for. And when we're comfortable of who we are, we have to be comfortable of who we aren't. And so I want to walk through that. So one story in scripture, John the Baptist, he was the forerunner talking about Jesus. Jesus is coming. So John's whole ministry as this rogue prophet is what he was described to be, is someone who is preparing the way for Jesus and teaching with authority. Matter of fact, countercultural topics that got him in trouble and ended up getting him killed. But it was definitely making the news back in those days. And people came to him and said, man, we've not seen this kind of authority. We've heard that this would be coming. Are you going to be the Messiah? Are you the Messiah? Which is, for them, their way of saying, are you God's son that's been promised for thousands of years? And what he said is, no, that's not who I am. I'm not. Here's who I am. I'm a voice of one calling in the wilderness. Make way for the Son of God. Make way for the kingdom of God. And he's going to come. He's going to come after me. And his shoes, I'm not even worthy to lace up. And he begins to talk about who the Messiah would be. But I look at that and I say, man, that's a great example for any of us who are on mission, is to say, we got to know who we are and we got to be comfortable with who we're not. Because a lot of times we could be in that role. It could be like, oh, you think that I'm the Messiah? Who else thinks I'm the Messiah? Maybe, I don't know. I mean, I've never said that myself, but now that you say it, sounds kind of, I'm not prepared to argue with you, right? But he was confident in who he was because he was confident in who he wasn't. And so as a church, we got to take our same cues. Now, I realize most of you who are listening to us don't run a church, but you're part of a church and you're part of a mission. And so I want us to be lockstep. Who are we? Who are we not? And now the leadership part of this, which is we're not going to touch much in this episode, but the leadership is no matter what you're running, know who you are, know who you aren't. And so we're going to talk about that. So one, North Point, we exist to create a safe place for people to find and follow Jesus. That's pretty broad. Matter of fact, probably a lot of churches could say it. As a matter of fact, I've seen that exact line in other churches. I've said it so long, I feel like I invented it. Probably is sixth generation by the time I got to North Point. But that's the mission of a church. Specifically, ours mission is to create a safe place for people to experience Jesus. And that involves finding him. That involves following him. All of that. So that's who we are. So with that, that's kind of our mission. Justin, talk to us a little bit about what does that entail? How does that drive our organization? What does that look like that might be unique if someone's unfamiliar with North Point? And then we'll talk about what we're not, but let's talk about who we are.
Yeah, well, I think the unique part of it is that safe part, right? And I think that's really hard to define. I don't know, you've said it's a broad kind of large brushstroke, but there is a thought to a lot of people, specifically in the Midwest and the Bible Belt of America, that don't see church as a safe place for whatever reason, right? And what we want to do is we want to make sure that we at least have the conversation. We just want to have the conversation.
Yeah.
What is not safe? I want to be a safe place for that conversation. So we're not, I guess why I'm getting into the not, we're not saying we're safe for this, safe for that, not safe for this. What we are is we are safe to come and explore, right? No. The claims of Scripture, we hope to have a conversation about it with you. What are you not feeling safe about? My goodness. Oh yeah, I get that. Or I don't get that. That's crazy. I've never been a part of that, right? So that's the part for me, at least, as I've been here. What's the safe part? The safe part is that I feel like I could bring anybody into this space and the conversation is not going to be shut down. Right? Like that's the safe part, that I can at least go there and I know that they're going to accept my conversation and my story.
Yeah.
That's the safe. We are safe. We are safe for that. We are safe for you to come into this place to try to see Jesus. Exactly what you're saying. I mean, you got a Zacchaeus story that you use a ton about the tree, him climbing. We want to be the tree. We are the tree. Yeah. We are the tree that is safe for you to climb. And hopefully we're safe for you to climb down and find community. But that's kind of for me what has been, and I know that's very broad, but it's what it is for me and what it has been for me. What is it for you on that part? How do you define that safe element?
Yeah, I think uniquely where we're at, and one, I think the mission. We have the term missionary. Typically refers to someone who goes overseas to a different culture, and it would be silly of a missionary to not be aware of the culture that they're going to and figure out what is their unique ability to communicate this timeless message in a timely way to that unique culture. We have a unique culture. We are on mission. Our unique culture is we are in the Bible Belt. That seems to be a part of this geography. It doesn't mean everybody's a follower of Jesus. It means there are a lot of social norms that allow Christians to be loud in this area, good or bad. And so with that, we find ourselves in a unique spot where there's a lot of people who don't feel like they fit in the social norms of a Bible Belt. They feel less than or uninvited or uninterested in. Our mission in this location during this time is to put a place in arm's reach of anyone there to say, I might not have looked the part, been labeled as the part, or even liked the messaging, but I would be interested in seeing Jesus too, to see if he's for me. And we want to be safe. So we don't want to assume any Bible literacy. We don't want to assume any political indoctrination. We don't want to assume any prereqs on our message. We want to present the message. Now, at the same time, it's safe to follow Jesus. So a lot of people will say, are you for the unchurched or are you for the churched? I'm like, we are a safe place for people to experience Jesus. And we just believe when you experience Jesus, he invites us to follow him. And we certainly hope that we're not in the way of that. And so, yes, but so it doesn't change what we talk about on the weekend. It changes how we talk. We don't want to assume that all of us are at the same spot. So we want to have on-ramps in the conversation so that people can hear Jesus, while we also have resources and next steps for everybody to take their next step in following Jesus. For me, a next step in following Jesus might be saying, I think I'm going to give this a shot and I'm going to listen again. I'm going to come back. I'm going to explore faith. I thought growing up in this area that I didn't fit in faith, and doggone it, I think maybe I was wrong. Maybe I shut that door too early. My next step is I'm curious about the way of Jesus. That could be a next step for someone who's not a follower of Jesus. But that's the beginning of their journey. And the next step for someone who's been teaching Sunday school for 20 years at a different church and found their way at North Point might be, listen, I'm going to serve my community with my schedule. And so I'm going to serve once a month at the Dream Center, and I'm going to make sure that I'm on mission living with arrows out in this community. I mean, it can look a million different ways. It might say, hey, I'm going to evaluate how I'm living on mission at work. So a safe place for anybody to hear from Jesus. So it has to make sense to them. And we have to give them handles for a next step. Everybody has a next step.
And I think that you can park on the safe place to find easily.
Yes, easy.
Right? And I think
because it's our distinctive.
It's our distinctive. Safe place to follow. I think people have for some reason, a harder time to grasp. But I think that part is the more dangerous part.
Yeah.
I think I brought this up, like C.S. Lewis talks about in Narnia, when they see Aslan, right, the Christ figure, which is the lion, they ask...
You just gave it away.
Oh,
okay,
sorry.
keep going.
You've had time. You've had time, guys. You've had time, right? But the kids ask, is he safe to be around? And they say, no, he's not. He's not safe. He's good, but he's not safe, right?
Yeah.
And that's the following part.
Yes.
So we hope to be that safe place because it is dangerous.
It's a dangerous invitation.
And for people to be like, well, I just need to be challenged in this. Like, have you read any of the Gospels? Like, he talks about dying to yourself.
Yeah.
So if you figured that out, let me know. Like, that's crazy. So when you talk about both of those, there's safe pieces to both of them that we try to provide. They look different, right? Because they're in different seasons of a life or a journey. But that's what we hope to provide.
Yeah, I love that. Now, part of this whole safe place, sometimes people will use that mission against us when they're irritated. Right. If something doesn't work for them, they'll say, I thought this was supposed to be a safe place. It's not a safe place for me. Let's take an extreme example. We've had someone try and interrupt the service before with a message of judgment, which happened to be during our Enneagram series, and I happened to be wearing a referee's jersey, and I happened to have a yellow penalty flag I was able to throw at the dude. Okay, so in an extreme setting, someone could say, well, it's not a safe place for me. You had someone ask me to lead the service. That's not a safe place. Well, that's our general mission. But in order to be a safe place for most people, we can't be a safe place for everyone. Like, we've had people say, hey, I have a charge against me. I've been convicted of a sexual crime against a minor, and now you're not letting me work around kids. And we've had them say, I thought this was supposed to be a safe place. Right. And we say, love that you're passionate about our mission. Okay, so let's talk about that. In order to be a safe place for everyone, we can't be a safe place for anyone. So we're not going to be like, oh no, what do we do? It's not your interpretation of safe place. What it is our interpretation as a church is we just want, if you want to hear from Jesus, as a general rule, we want you to be able to have that opportunity. We want to be that place for you because it's a dangerous message. So who are we for? I think we're for anybody who, for whatever reason, feels interested in the invitation or the message of Jesus, even if they've never felt invited, even if they've never felt involved. Maybe they've never heard of Jesus, but they hear rumors that you can show up here and we think most of it'll make sense, right? We try to make it make sense. I'm painfully aware that sometimes even in our aspiration, it's not effective, but we try. So we're not going to say things like, hey, everybody open your Bible to 1 Hesitation 17, right? And then, because we're assuming something that all of a sudden we're instantly saying, hey, you don't fit in here. Or we say, hey, everyone come to the front and worship. Woo, 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 right? Well, you might have been following Jesus for 30 years and you can't wait to race to the front to worship God. But if someone's here who doesn't know that, we've made them draw a line in the sand of, oh, this isn't for me. I don't even know. And so we try not to make people make a decision about if they fit in or not until after we've shared the message. And so we just want everyone to, even if they walk away and say, still thinking, that's just something I'm going to think about for a while. I'm all right with that. I've had people who are very spiritual people tell me they're very disappointed in me because we don't make them make a decision all the time, every week with an altar call. And I'll just say, and I'm not saying this sarcastically, but Jesus didn't do those. Like, we know that, right? And I'm not against them. I've responded to many of them and I've invited people down to a bunch of them. But that's not our mission, isn't to get a bunch of people to get out of their seat and come to the front in front of a bunch of strangers. Our mission is for them to say yes to Jesus. For me, that missional metric is water baptism. Are people getting baptized? Now, we still don't know what does it mean for everybody who gets baptized.
Right.
And we're not trying to control that either.
Right.
But that's our best metric to say, someone's saying, I've said yes. Our job is to explain what it means clearly and to give an invitation widely. And when someone says, that's me, I've said yes to Jesus. I've invited him to forgive my sin. And I want to be buried with him and raised to new life. We're saying, awesome. That's our favorite metric. As long as that metric continues to be significant, I feel like that's what we're doing. It might get to a spot where we're not seeing that. And maybe we change how we're saying yes to Jesus. But people will say, if you're not doing altar call, if you're not doing raise your hand and play peekaboo with a pastor, if you're not doing these things that used to, be norms for other churches, it's fine. I don't care. I just want someone to walk away saying, man, I'm not done with this conversation with Jesus. And so that's who we're for.
I've been in altar calls, those situations.
Okay.
It's just a confession.
Okay.
Never closed my eyes.
You're looking around to see who raises their
Always
hand?
a watcher. Yeah.
You're a watcher.
Yeah.
Well,
and I
here's your out. When the pastor says, with nobody looking around, you're a nobody, Justin. Just tell yourself
that feels better.
And then you have permission to look around.
No, that's good.
Just a bunch of us nobodies looking around. Yeah, it is. Usually it's the only person who's got their eyes closed is the person who's raising their hand. And I'm not even dogging.
I was going to say,
response.
I'm not saying to take away from that. I'm just saying, yes, yeah.
But also I don't want to add to it. Like,
Right.
there's nothing spiritual about it.
Right.
What's spiritual is about what they mean when they say it.
Right.
And what I'm trying, and sometimes the more church we have, the harder it is for us to remind ourselves the model of church that we've experienced and was meaningful to us is not the mission. We date the model, marry the mission. That's just the model. Just date the model. Marry the mission. The mission is for people to say yes to Jesus and to follow Jesus. So it used to be following Jesus every Thursday night for the next 6 months. We're going to meet with Doritos at the church, and we're going to have a men's Bible study and a ladies' Bible study across the hall. Right?
I'm interested.
I know you would be.
I love me a Dorito.
Yep.
A Cool Ranch.
And split gender Bible studies.
Oh,
right?
please.
Yes. So, I mean, but and again, that's been great for a lot of people and continues to do that. But for us, follow Jesus might be like, in this culture, in this day and age, like I'll see clips of pastors being like, you know what? Our kids skipping Sunday services to go to soccer games. You parents are raising up a generation that's going to know God. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Soccer's the enemy? What kind of weak faith do we have? That's not the enemy. The enemy is not following Jesus. So if I'm a parent and I've got soccer, it doesn't mean I'm going to say, hey, forget church and forget Christian community. But I also want to say, hey, I want to resource parents who are in that season. I want to resource kids who are in that season. I want to let them know, hey, it's not about a holy place. Now, at the same time, every time you're here, we want you to grow. We want you to know you matter and you value, and we have people who are excited to see you. But bottom line is you can grow on the go as well. And so you might not be able to sign up to a Thursday night 13-week discipleship course, but are there people in your life? Do you have friends outside of church? We don't need you to have a whole new friend group. We need you to have intentionality with your current friend group. Are you bringing them towards an outside focus and even having intentional conversations about your faith? And we've got tools for that. So,
and I think going back to the conversation that you had previously that you started this conversation with, that person definitely was able to attach to a few things. And then the other things was like, no, I don't do those. But you have another conversation and they attach, like everything it's not going to be like, everything that North Point offers, I've got it.
Yes.
Like it's just not that way.
So who are we not for? Let's walk through that. And a couple of things in my mind is what we're not trying to do. Not that we won't ever want to do something if it serves our mission, but what we're not trying to do is be a conference church. And the truth is, if you like conferences, you live in a phenomenal town. like we have, like James River is an example of a church that has some of the biggest conferences in the nation. And so I don't feel like when I look at our mission, what is our job? If God's just whispering to us in our left ear, hey, have cooler and bigger conferences than that other church. Like, I think conferences are covered, right? Maybe there'll be a time where we want to have a very specific gathering and it's big enough where it's called a conference by somebody. Cool. That's not our goal. That's not bad. That's awesome. I go to conferences. I'll speak at conferences. All those kind of things. It's not our goal. Some people say, hey, we want a great men's ministries. Here's my goal. I want great men. I want people to be a better dad. I want them to be a better husband. I want them to be a better employee. I want great women. I want women who are able to serve their community in a way that is inspiring. I want women to, whether they're leading the business, whether they're leading that conversation with their kids or with their spouse, is let's have men's ministries and women's ministries isn't a priority for me. Godly men, godly women, priority. Now, does that mean sometimes we'll have a event or series for guys or gals? Sure, maybe, but that's a model. And so here's what I want to say, who we're not for. We're not for people who got tired of the programming of their previous church and are looking for more exciting programming. And I'm not saying that like arrogantly, like we don't want you. I'm just saying like, if that's your goal and that's your honest pursuit, you're going to be disappointed because that's not our mission. If you're saying, hey, this ministry model that I was a part of for years that was significant, I want to bring this model to North Point. I'm not even saying we'll use your model. Maybe we will, but don't come here for that. Come here for the mission. If you're like, hey, I want, if you tweaked to this kind of preaching, if you added an altar call, if you provided mops, and again, all those things could be great, but those are models. Here's what we're for. Here's who we're for. People who are saying, I want to spend my next season of life helping people find and follow Jesus. I want to point the arrows out in this community. I want to serve our community in practical and tangible ways. I want to open up doors at a campus where people are going to show up who they don't even act like they believe anything in Scripture because they don't. I want a safe place for that person to explore. I want to be involved in messy discipleship that might not start when you've got everything together, but might start with, okay, now if I just invited Jesus in, here's what I have. What do I do next? And we're like, I have no idea. Let's figure this out together, right? That's who North Point's for. North Point's for the person who's coming out of rehab and saying, can Jesus impact my life? I don't know. Can he save my marriage? I'm open. And North Point's for that person. North Point's for the person who's been like, man, I've been around church for a long time, but I just am willing to throw down all those models that I've enjoyed and were meaningful to me and try any model that will help this new mission in this town during this season. And that's who North Point's for.
So we're not a better version of your other church.
No. Matter of fact, we might be worse at it than your other church. Like for real.
Yes,
Real.
yes.
We probably are. And it's not because we're anti-church stuff. I'm not angsty about churches. I'm passionate about our mission. And it is possible for us to be a bunch of busy Christians having the best of ministries without seeing transformation. It's also possible to not have any of those ministries, be poor at all those ministries and not have transformation. So we're not like, hey, let's just have this low bar for excellence in ministries and not have all that other busy stuff and not see lives change. We are busy. Our staff is busy. Our volunteers are busy people who are doing significant work. They're just busy doing stuff that might be different than a previous model. And if we have to validate our effectiveness of ministry by doing a different model, we're just not going to do it. Here's what I want to be judged by as a church, as a pastor of this church. Is this a safe place for people to hear from Jesus? Mm-hmm. Are you providing opportunities for people to follow Jesus? Now, here's my model on that, or my thought on that. Our job is to hold people's hands, not wipe their butt. Okay. Meaning is, come on, we're all responsible. My job is to give you tools. Our job as a church, our job as volunteers, our mission's job is to give people who've said yes to Jesus tools to follow it out. To follow out that commitment. Our job is not to say, okay, now if you want to follow him, cancel your social life, cancel your calendar. Here's what you need to do. You need to be with us and be super busy, and we're going to create a subculture for you. Everything the world has, we have a Christian version of it, okay? You have skate nights, we have Christian skate nights. You have amusement parks, we have Christian music parks. Okay, bottom line though, that we do live in the Bible Belt. So, but I want to say is I resist that model. You don't need to give up your life to follow our mission. You need to give up your agenda to follow Jesus. But I think Jesus is actually going to use your influence currently to make an eternal impact. And we want to give you tools to help.
I think that's so helpful. One of the questions that we run all of our staff through, and volunteers too, is when you're meeting somebody, one of the questions that we hope people ask are, have you ever been in anything like this?
Yes.
Right? And the reason for that is we're trying to figure out what brought you here? What is this? A lot of the times, some people will say, oh yeah, I was at another church.
Yes.
Right? We have a lot of those, which is
I'm one.
Great. Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Now, what follows that is important.
Yes.
Right? Because then it's, oh, well, how'd you show up here? Right? Well, they just got off mission where we were. Really? Yeah. And we just have to be a part of something that's really holding the mission tight. Great. We're going to really do that. Other side. Yeah, they stopped doing Sunday school. It's like, oh, we stop a lot of stuff here.
Yeah.
And then start stuff. We didn't even.
Still not started it.
So hey, just before, like you just need to know
that's so
like,
important.
We change a lot of stuff here
Right.
because we're so committed to the mission.
Yes,
right. It's just an important question to ask.
Now, I'm a curious George. Let's talk about Sunday school. Let's talk about this thing that you love. Let's talk about that. But bottom line is, the mission trumps everything. So here's the deal. If you're a North Pointer listening to this, and now one, I hope our weekends are excellent. I hope our programs are excellent. Maybe some people are here because it's a good version. People rarely leave if they're locked in mission and rarely stay if they're not. So what I would say is go. We got it show notes on our show notes if you go to the YouTube portion. If not, just go to our website on our resources or our next steps on our app. We have an opportunity to go through a class, and I always say the wrong name of it.
You always say it's called Next.
Yeah, and sometimes I say new.
You say new. You say 101 sometimes.
Yeah, it's next.
You say crash course. You say you just come up with everything. Yeah. I like them, but you're.
I feel like
creative.
Next clearly isn't sticky then.
Oh, we got to figure out.
We got to figure
that out. You know what we'll do
or
though?
Maybe I'm just
doesn't
not
matter.
good.
We'll change it. I don't care.
Yeah,
It's not
but
the
bottom
mission.
line is go to it.
Go to
Watch
it.
it.
Yeah.
Listen to it. And again, even with that, we've had people like come after church on Sunday. We've had seasons where that was big. And we've had times where it's like, come after church on Sunday. It's going to be a big party. And it wasn't a big party. It was lame.
For staff, it was, though. Yeah, we had a great time.
and then we're like, hey, just ingest it on your own at your space, your pace. And sometimes that works. Sometimes we're always looking at how do we get that. But bottom line, if you haven't gone through Next, which is our version of a 101, we tell people, especially if you come from another church, watch this. If this resonates with you, yes. If you can watch that and be like, but tell me about your groups. Tell me about your follow-up process. Then I would say, honestly, we're probably not your fit. And not that we're not in the community and not that we're not in the following, but go through that and let that burn in your heart. And when that burns in your heart and we're not bringing, those are fun conversations. If you're like, hey, I believed in what you talked about, I just don't think we're doing that effectively. Boom, game on. Mm-hmm. Let's do this because we want to be a safe place for people to not only find Jesus. Now, we want them to. And I think there's so much opportunity in the next few years at North Point for people to find Jesus. And we also want them to follow Jesus. We have different staff who focus on different parts of that mission. I know as a volunteer, whatever part resonates within you on that mission, there's room for you. There's a significant role for you to play. Our campus pastors and our campus teams are in place right now. They'd love to hear from you. They'd love to help give you a significant role in this vision and mission. But let's go on this mission together. So North Pointers, I love the way you lead. Every time we do baptisms, that's a highlight of what you're all doing throughout the year. And right now, we've already passed, as of this last baptism in July, we passed more baptisms already this year than we had the previous year combined, which is the most we've had since 2019. We are so excited about the opportunity we have to help people see Jesus and follow Jesus. And so we're excited about this vision. We hope you can find a significant role in it if you can get excited about it as well. So that's who we're for and who maybe we're not for. So
Raiders? Will we be for the Raiders?
It's interesting. There's only a couple of the whole NFL teams that are mentioned in the Bible. Mm-hmm. You got Raiders in there. You got Rams in there.
Lions.
And it didn't. Lions.
Yeah.
Yes. Eagles.
Yeah.
He is the lion. Aston's the lion too.
Yeah. So we're for
and
the
represents
Lions,
Jesus
against the Raiders. Yeah.
Raiders weren't positive in the Bible,
but neither are cats.
No, cat.
Yet a
Matter of fact,
lion
a
is.
direct line to Satan. He's a
He's
a lion, but then Jesus is a lion too.
It's a safe place to talk about it, though.
Yeah. A lot of curiosity. So now I'm really double questioning that henna tattoo of a lion that I had on my back. Because would people know?
It just looks so good, though.
It's confusing.
It is confusing.
Yeah,
though.
until I started sweating in
know.
this room.
And
it's
then
all
it looked like a sad cat.
Yeah. It's terrible. If you're still not logged off, hey, thanks for listening. And hey, check out Next, and we'll talk to you at another episode of The Riff sometime soon. Bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The Riff. We'll have a brand new episode every week, wherever you find podcasts.